What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I couldn't leave this topic alone. I saw this floating around online, and I've seen the back and forth, and I want to talk about that. I want to talk about IGN's video of Redfall, the destruction, really, of that video being massively downvoted, but also the difference between IGN and other people and going back and forth. So let me make this very clear, and maybe some of the stuff is going to be different than what you've heard before. Ultimately, this is a way of playing Redfall. This is an individual playing the game. Now, it may not be the best individual, but I do just want to kind of throw that out there. I'll talk in a second about, IGN and their gameplay videos in this case. Not the greatest thing to go off of in life when you're making a decision on a game. But factually, and I think some people are reading into it at least a little bit, like, you can play the game like this. There are people's skill sets that would make it look like this. Also, there is a separation between how bad this individual was at playing the game and then also the game itself, right? A more kind of spongy mini boss, the enemies, the placement of the enemies, and this kind of I wouldn't say open world, but this open environment, right, of an area. So I want to throw that out there. Now, on the other side of things, I do want to bash them. This was pathetic. This was extremely difficult to watch. If you do watch this entire thing, God help you, because again, it's a mix of a couple different things. It does feel empty and it doesn't feel fun. And then on the other side, you have an IGN employee that absolutely has no clue what they're doing, which, by the way, is okay. Now, why game companies allow something like this to happen? Because factually, there is a very high percentage shot that this will turn people off of the game, right? If this is what you see, and they have an exclusive, this is an exclusive month of footage of Redfall from IGN. If people see this stuff, and this is the only place you can see it, this stuff, right? Now, you could see other stuff we'll talk about in a second. Then you may say, holy dear God, this game is atrocious. Now, again, watching it a few times, as I did, I put myself through it more than once, it's important to distinguish, okay, I think this person is just very, very bad at it, right? Now, on the flip side of things, you have people that are showing, I think Colt Eastwood is one of them, that is shown, okay, well, here's more kind of flashier gameplay, segments. But for his gameplay, yes, it does look factually better. However, it's like a 47-second clip. It's spliced together. In fact, the entire, I think maybe it's closer to 50 seconds. Let's just round up and say 50. But it's not full. It's not like uncut 50 seconds. I think it's 2 or 3 different scenes kind of stitched together. So also, it's against not a boss, and it's also a more enclosed area that kind of like lets you jump around, right? There's multiple floors to this area. I guess when I say enclosed, like hallways, different rooms, different environment. Again, it's why I'm trying to be fair to the IGN footage, not necessarily the employee, but more of the idea of the game. Ultimately, where I stand on it is I think the game looks fine. I've never been in love with how this game looks. I've never truly hated it. It's a Game Pass game. I'm going to be playing it. The only thing I'm going to lose is time, if it's a terrible game. That's where I stand. You can make your own decisions, and I implore you to. And again, that's kind of what this entire thing is about. There's a couple different levels here. There's people that make the game look fun, but honestly, a lot of that's edited, and it seems like it's a very specific area. Then when you go to a different area, sometimes it looks like complete garbage. Now, how much of that is on the person playing and how much is on the game itself? I don't know if you want to say a 50-50 split. I don't know if you want to go 60-40, but that is a factual thing I think you have to throw out there. Whereas the game actually, I would honestly imagine, by like the law of numbers here, I do honestly imagine the game falls somewhere in the middle. I think as long as you're not completely awful at playing it like the IGN person, you're probably going to have a slightly better time, but maybe some areas just are not nearly as fun to play in this game as other areas. And again, some areas may be an absolute blast. I can see this coming through in reviews. Now, I don't know who's going to watch. I think it's going to be hilarious when the IGN review goes up, because I would imagine nobody's going to believe it, right? Nobody's going to, I guess, go based off of it. If IGN gives it a 7, they would say, well, nobody there knows how to play a game. Or if they give it a 10, you'd probably hear the exact same thing, right? No matter what. So IGN has kind of screwed themselves. And to be honest with you, me talking about these game journalists as long as I have, I'm okay with that. On that side of things, this is just another example. And this is kind of like a life lesson. as I always say, make your own opinion. Especially with gameplay, it's such a hard thing to do, and I truly mean that. I truly understand that, and I've fallen for it too. The one I always go back to is like Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought the gameplay looked awful, like legitimately bad when the game was kind of leading up to coming out, and then when it came out, I played it, I loved it. And I didn't just love the game, the gameplay itself was actually really, really good. So sometimes you truly do not know. It's not the only example. There's plenty of games where depending on how you watch the gameplay, it can be good or bad. The thing with this, though, again, to try to be fair, it can be good or bad depending on who you watch, but it also involves, I guess, the area. One's more wide open. One has a kind of a spongy boss attached to it. The other is enemies that are a lot less hard to kill, and there's more of them, but they're easier to eliminate, right? There's different floors. There's a lot of like jumping things of getting from point A to point B quicker, more snappy, right? So it's tough because you're not even looking at two different people playing the same thing. Now, I guess you could go back to the preview event that Redfall had a few weeks ago, watch other people. But a lot of that stuff, ultimately, this is an annoying thing with the gaming industry. Star Wars Jedi Survivor has done this, so it's not, just an Xbox thing or whatever. A lot of the footage that you see from these things end up being like B-roll. In fact, more and more and more of, I don't know why, but more and more of these game preview event things that people go to, the footage that comes out of it, very rarely now it feels like it's actual individual gameplay. Maybe they're afraid. Maybe they're afraid that this kind of IGN thing would happen. I think that's a very likely possibility. But now you're starting to see just more footage from the company. They splice something together. They send it out. So everybody that's talking about Star Wars Jedi Survivor, let's say, is showing the same footage no matter what. So you're not getting anything. The only unique thing you're getting is their impression of that footage, which is something. Like, if actually, and they did get to play it, so their opinion of it might be different than somebody else's. But what we as the audience see to make our own decision on something, it ends up actually kind of being the same. So it's actually tough with Redfall, because I'd like to see like a Mr. Maddie Plays or whoever do the exact same level, do the exact same 3-minute clip that IGN did. Let me see that area, and let me see it with like 5 different people to truly see, okay, I mean, the player is probably bad with IGN for sure, but how much of it actually falls on the environment, the enemies, the placement? Like, how much does that actually impact it? That's what I would like to see. Ultimately, as I always say, make your own decisions. I get that it's sometimes hard, especially with this, when you have kind of mixed signals coming from the game, but as reviews and, the next couple of weeks really starts to go, I'm sure we'll have kind of more information on the game to judge it on, right? So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on. I will be covering this game. I'll be reviewing it, all that jazz, once I get it. If you want to follow me anywhere else on Twitter or any of my other YouTube channels, all my social media links are in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.